and welcome to today's episode of the PKF Podcast. My name is Courtney Charleson, and today I'm joined by Joel Floyd, Principal here at PKF Newcastle in the Corporate Finance team. Welcome, Joel.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Today we're going to discuss a little bit about getting your business market ready for sale and what that sort of looks like. What is the first step to a successful business exit?
It's a really good question, and one probably most business owners don't think about enough. But ultimately it starts out with what's the end goal. There's no right or wrong exit. It basically comes down to what the owner wants and what they really want to achieve from the exit. So there's numerous options that we can work through. But once we have clarity on what that goal looks like, then you can build out what that process is going to be to achieve that goal.
Yeah, great. And what is the process of building out those goals with the team, with yourself? How does that work?
Yeah, so ultimately it starts off with just a meeting, to be honest. You know, we're all people. We all want to understand, you know, what drives that person and why they decide to think about this right now. So once we understand, you know, what the goals are, what, you know, family members and other key people close to them also want out of this whole process, we then map out, okay, what that process is going to look like and try and develop a plan to help them achieve it. Yeah,
great. I guess what I want to understand is, you know, is there a point that things can happen too early, or you need to start the process too early, or what does that sort of look like, the typical runway of a business exit?
Well, our advice is always to start as early as possible because these types of processes are not quick. You know, changing a business and putting, you know, the best foot forward takes a long time, especially if you haven't thought about it until this point in time. So we always recommend at least 2 years. Don't get me wrong, some owners are like, let's sell, get me out now. But best practice is at least 2 years, get your ducks all lined up and ready to hit the ground running for when you do go to market.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can imagine as well it'd be a very important thing to understand for even the other factors of the business, like the employees there, and perhaps maybe wanting to know what the future might hold for them too, from a succession point of view. So the change management piece in that too is probably forms a part of getting that all starting from as early as possible.
Yeah, spot on, and it really dictates the outcome. You know, use your example around the employees. If the owner is very hands-on in the business and the business relies on him, how does he expect to sell that once he steps away? So, you know, aligning the employees, getting the right people in, making sure processes and systems are all in place to really show that this business is great. It can operate without that owner and therefore reduce the risk to the new buyer. So we work together with, you know, all the key people in the business to make sure we're aligned on those things. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, that's going to dictate the outcome. So
yeah, absolutely, and the you know, potential value of that as well.
Well, you wouldn't be surprised, but price and value is probably one of the most talked about topics when you're talking about a business sale. So yes, naturally, price is spoken about, but linked to that is risk. So the more you can reduce that risk, the better price, the better discussions you can have with buyers, and hopefully better options that come to the table. So it's an ever-changing discussion. But at the end of the day, like I said, if you go back to the start, what's that end goal look like, and then you build out that plan to reach that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, what are the signals that tell you that a business is market ready per se?
Well, a lot of our discussions start off with, when's the last time you've had a holiday and not checked your emails or not had a phone call, to be honest, because that is a great indicator that, you know, the business is running fine, the performance doesn't drop, it hasn't had the owner there, and it's still been able to achieve what it's been set out to do. So things like making sure key people are in place. Again, less reliance on the owner. Consistent profitability. You don't want to see big drops and dips and those type of things. You want to see consistent, steady flow. You want a great growth story as well, because at the end of the day, the person buying it wants to improve the business and hopefully make more money. And then robust process and systems, because again, it reduces that whole risk around what they're buying and then what they're trying to achieve.
So, Joel, we've mentioned the sort of signs that impact potentially the financial side. What, I guess, non-financial must-haves are there and also are considered when exiting a business? Yeah,
that's a really good question. So obviously it can be very dependent on the type of business, but the common ones we come back to are, customers, how long their relationship's been there, the robustness of that contract with that customer, because again, that gives you clarity around that future piece. Staff, how long they've been there, the culture that they've built, is there high staff turnover, the management team that's in place. Again, they're going to be driving the business and driving that culture as well. So you want to make sure that is consistent and a skilled team to help out with that. The other things that you can look at are, facilities and the geographic reach and those type of things. So what's that all those pieces connected, what's that growth story or growth potential look like to ultimately, at the end of the day, represent a really good business, which in turn links to those financial metrics we spoke about before.
Yeah, and I guess when you're talking about the potential deals that might come to the table when you are selling, when a business is being sold or put on the market, are there different structures that help business owners achieve that successful exit from the business?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, there's so many options and no deal's the same. So the common ones that we generally see are, is it a family succession play? So are they transferring or selling the business to a family member? We see a lot of families don't want to take on the family business. The kids have gone off to uni or gone overseas. They don't want to come back and work in a industrial type industry. So, and they may not have the balance sheet to be able to buy it. So the next point of call is if it's not family, is it a maybe management buyout? So they may again not have the balance sheet to be able to do something like that. We also work through full sale versus a minority or part sale, so the owner may keep a little bit of ownership in it. That's a really good play if you want to reach out to private equity, because they like that consistency of ownership and those type of structures. Then you've obviously got your full sale, which is competitors and other trade sales in the market come in, buy the whole business, they know the industry, they can implement their own sort of teams and processes. But that gives a clean exit to that owner. But what we try to do is, whatever the goal is, we try to structure it in a way so that there's, the financial benefit, i.e. price, but also, the risks associated with it. You're not tied in for years if you don't want to be. You don't have huge warranties and indemnities linked to the contract. So while one price is key, we try to structure it in a way so that all those other metrics end up being the desired outcome for that person.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it sounds a little bit like when you're perhaps like selling a house and you get all the offers and, one might be cash, one might be, this percentage of a loan or whatever it is. And it's like, sure, one might look better, but the risks that are associated with that and all of that with perhaps a different offer might be better. So sort of a bit like that.
Yeah, spot on. So you see, especially these days, earnouts. You potentially get some up front, but then you have to meet a certain target to earn more. Using your home loan sort of example, the price they offer may not be the price you actually get or the cash in hand at the end, because obviously you've got to pay tax and things like that. So again, we work through the whole tax structuring piece with our experts upstairs. But yeah, like I said, there's numerous outcomes or opportunities for when doing a deal. We don't do a one-size-fits-all for the business owners. We try to really understand what their goals and desired outcomes are and tie it back to what they want. And then at the end of the day, you just have to get on the phone and see what the market's willing to offer.
And you mentioned that you sort of work with the tax team and stuff on that sort of tax side of things. What do, I guess, the other parts of PKF and the business, I guess, what other ties-ins do you guys have with that?
Yeah, that's really good, and probably one of the benefits of working with a big firm is we have such a strong depth of expertise across the firm. So when we're talking about getting business sale ready, we talk about, okay, is your tax structure correct? Is it, we don't try and minimise tax, but we make sure you're not paying any more than you have to. So we make sure that whole tax structure is correct. We then work with our NBAS team around, have you got your accounting systems and processes in place? Is the data actually in a usable way and makes things easy for you to sell the business, because that's what they're going to be looking at in a sales process. So we work with them around process improvement, systemisation, those type of things in the lead up to a sale. If they're a large organisation, our auditors obviously do the audited accounts, and again we rely on them around the data and the financial presentation to build out what we're doing. We have our valuation experts. You talk about a home, people get their home's value, but not many people get their business's value, so they don't know what their biggest asset is and the value attached to it. So they talk about, I want $1 million. Is it really worth $1 million, or is it worth $100 million? So again, we work with them around, okay, what's the price for this business? And how can we improve that price by reducing those risks that we touched on earlier?
Yeah, great. Yeah, and that's exactly the point. There's a lot of specialisations within the firm that you can draw on to make some really great outcomes and deals for businesses and business owners.
Yeah, exactly. And we like to take a collaborative approach, and we respect that businesses may have, day-to-day accountants and lawyers and those type of things, and we're not here to replace those relationships. We're here to help and build on those relationships and just pull in experts and different people from our business when needed and if needed. So it's very much a collaborative approach internally, but also with all the advisors that we use outside of the firm as well.
So to finish off, I guess, Joel, we've spoken a bit about the process of getting a business ready to go to market, but what is the process of actually going to market, and what does that look like? Yeah,
that's a really good one, because generally most businesses would not have gone through this process before. Some may have, but most haven't. But once we're happy and establish that go-to-market strategy, and we think the business is now ready to go to market, generally the way we approach it is we develop a highly pointed list of buyers that we're going to target. We're very lucky with our organisation that we have a tool called a deal sheet, where we collaborate with all our firms across our network, which have contacts in finance, legal, banking, investors, you name it, thousands of interested parties looking to get deals done. So we use that as a bit of a catch-all approach, plus alongside our buyers list that we then do a more pointed approach. So once we sort of have all the marketing material, all the information collated, ready to go, we then make those market approaches and put it on the deal sheet and start just working through that sales process. And hopefully, we get a few interested parties to the table. We then start the due diligence process, legals, and negotiations that follow, which we could probably do a full podcast on that process as well. But at high level sort of overview, that's pretty much sort of the way we work through. And generally, timing-wise, a good process from start to finish will be 6 to 9 months, depending on the complexities and the things that sort of pop up along the way, can go a bit past that. So, like I said, this process, it's not one event, it's a full process that takes time, and you really need to make sure that you're prepared, work with advisors that have done this many times before, and really focus on those outcomes that you're trying to achieve, because that will dictate your decisions along the way.
So if you'd like to subscribe to the deal sheet, there will be a link in the caption, so please feel free to head through to there and subscribe so you can receive all the deals that will be up and coming. And Joel, thank you so much again for your time. It's really interesting to hear all about this, and I'm sure it would be very, very very interesting job for you to be able to do and see, help business owners through this process as well. It's it'd be very rewarding.
Yeah, my pleasure. And no, thank you for having me. I always say to anyone that's intrigued or wants to know more, just happy to have a conversation or jump on a call just to talk through any questions or things about the process, because it is pretty complex, and we are lucky enough to see a lot of things happen. So I'd like to think we give a good insight into that side of things. So
yeah, absolutely. And we'll pop Joel's details on the end of this podcast as well. So feel free to get in touch with him. And thank you for joining us on the podcast today.